Um, and let's get started. So, so I'm sitting here early or late yesterday and this morning, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to put together some kind of PowerPoint. I don't know why. I just feel like on these kind of calls, maybe you just have to have pictures. I don't know. Because there's only about 3 things that I need to share with you guys. But let's start at the very beginning here. So where we are. About 2 months ago, okay, I had heard, just through the grapevine that the telecommunication companies were looking at making some changes. All right, guys, we knew what the changes were, and our thought was, okay, well, they probably won't do it. Because we hear these things all the time, and most times they don't do it. So we did put some thought into it, like, well, if they do that, I wonder how that will affect us or if it will at all. And then about 30 days ago, I started to notice some difference on my clients. Now, the reason we're in a very, very unique situation, iRB Builder and my company, which means you guys. So between my clients and all of you guys, we're in a unique situation because in my clients, I have a whole bunch of people that are in I've got one business that's got just tons and tons and tons of locations. And I've got all these other clients in the same industry. We're sending the same message and so forth. So anytime there is any kind of hiccup in the software or anytime like Google makes a change, which by the way, you guys don't even know about it, but Google makes changes like every couple of months to something that affects our software. We have to go back and make a little edit or whatever. It's usually something that happens overnight. You guys never know about it. You don't really need to know about it. Just it's an ongoing thing that we need to do to keep things working. So, but on this telecommunications issue, what I started to notice was that my overall results were a little bit lower. And I was like, well, that's weird. So then as I started to investigate it a little bit more, what I saw is that our click-through rate was lower. And click-through rate is something that I check. It's one of my measurements that I use to determine. It's like my kind of like it's the canary in a coal mine sort of. I look at that click-through rate just to make sure it's always about the same. Because in my industry, it is. It stays the same for now 6 years. So as all that went down, I'm like, maybe they did make those changes, the telecommunication companies. And then my first thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to talk to Twilio, okay? Because Twilio is they're our partner in this. I mean, they don't look at it that way, but we do. Twilio, we rely on them. They are the people sending these texts. Now, my personal clients, we are a pretty decent size account with them. I get a guy assigned to us. We have an account representative for my company, not for iRB Builder, but for the my RTO Engage. And anytime I have a problem, I can call that person and, they jump on it and they will fix it or whatever. And they're not usually Johnny on the spot over the years. But he does get back to me relatively quickly at some point. And that job must be an awful job because they do, that does change a bunch. My guy has probably been, I think, 3 different people this year. So for whatever, they've got a lot of turnover in that position. It's probably a high stress. So, but this time I tried to reach out to Twilio and they did not respond. So then I did, old school, what you guys have to do, is submit a support ticket. And again, that's what most people have to do with Twilio, because I get it. They've just got thousands and tens of thousands and tens of thousands of customers using their platform. So I tried to do that, and still I got nothing. So I was frustrated. I'm like, all right, well, they're not going to share it with me. So luckily we had a relationship with somebody in that industry who actually works directly with the carriers. And in talking to that person shared with us what was happening. So, and that's what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share with you, the guys, the human version of the change, and then I'm going to read some other stuff to you later. It's a little bit more educational and, just stuff you can know. But the broad brush of this is that the different carriers, telecommunication industry as a whole, there was deregulated to the point where they could now go out and hire third-party companies to help them manage their business. In other words, they third-party companies could come in and try to save their bandwidth and so forth, and like sniffers. They wanted to, they go under the guidelines of like, they want to make sure there's no spam text. There's no spam emails, because again, if they're selling bandwidth stuff like AT&T and so forth. So what it really comes down to, and the thing that they're really concerned with, and this is my hypothesis, and it's probably very, very close, is the main concern is if they can reduce the amount of bandwidth. Is everyone asleep yet, by the way? This is not exciting stuff, but you just be patient. I'll get there. If the companies like AT&T and T-Mobile and so forth, if they can reduce the amount of bandwidth that people are using, then they can ultimately make more money. They have less problems and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of wasted bandwidth every single month from text or emails that go out with a link in it, for an advertisement. And it's something going on, and it is kind of spammy, both in text and in email. So what they wanted to do is reduce that number. Even if they could reduce it by 1 or 2%, that would be millions of dollars. Now realize, guys, that everyone thinks like bandwidth and all this stuff is unlimited. And it's not really, because the more people that get online, it does cause problems. And again, I don't remember how long ago that was. Was that last year? Alan probably knows, where they were even talking about deregulating or changing the internet to making it where they could kind of determine how much bandwidth was given to individual like websites and so forth. They would be able to control that. And I forgot, there was a term for it. I don't remember what it was, but at any rate, all those things were measures that they were trying to put into play to make sure that we have enough bandwidth moving forward in the future. And there is other things coming. I think there's a satellite thing. Yeah, net neutrality, by the way, is the thing I'm talking about. So, and by the way, yes, Mark, the throttling kind of is part of that as well. Like, again, how much they can send at different times and all that stuff. So these third-party companies came in, and basically they have software programs, they're sniffers that look at the activity of a company's client base, like let's use AT&T, and it will look for what it feels is spam, and it will flag that. And when it flags it, it means it kills it. It just stops it there. We're right in the beginning of that, so it probably, I don't know if it would get better. I think it would probably get worse. But what was happening overall is that they would look at what we were sending, and some of those at the SMS, the delivery of the SMS wasn't going through. And again, this is not across the board. This is happening here and there and with different carriers. In fact, I saw it as we kind of did it, reverse engineered what happened. We saw, well, when one company started doing it, we saw a certain number. And then when that number increased, it co-aligned with another company who also started doing that. You just think it was T-Mobile. But obviously AT&T was the big one. So what was happening with my clients is that the overall click-through rate decreased. And the reason it decreased is because that customer wasn't even getting the text. In fact, it did. Some of you guys, you experienced this. Not many of you guys, but some of you guys did. You had a client who they said, oh, my portal's not sending a text anymore. Well, that wasn't necessarily true. It probably was sending a text, but only to certain carriers. Well, if it's T-Mobile and AT&T, if it's not sending to them, well, that's a problem. So again, this was it's a complete mess. Now, the fact that we don't qualify as a spam, we don't fall under that, it doesn't matter and nobody cares. Again, this is just a program that is looking at certain things and says, hey, well, wait a second. This sure does look like spam. Let's block it. And if you think about it, here's what it looks for. Okay. So this little program that these third-party companies are using, they see from us that we're sending the same message, opening message. Thank you for doing business with us. Please click this link, right? I'm paraphrasing. But not only do I send that same exact message, it is not changed in the slightest across all of my clients. Most of you guys are doing the same thing because you didn't go in and change that template. Even though I'd always suggested that you guys did it, but not for this reason. Quite frankly, it was for a whole nother reason. Little did I know. So they see that and they would be like, well, wait a second. It's sending the same message over and over and over again to millions of people. Well, that's got to be spam. Well, no, it's not. But it's not like we get our day in court. It's just it blocks a certain percentage of them. So that was problem number one. And then as we investigated further, they were also looking at some other things. They would look at just what was being sent over long codes. All right. Now, the way a long code works, what a long code is for you guys that don't know that terminology, it's just regular phone numbers, your area code and phone number. For each one of y'all's stores, when the store's set up, that store is assigned a long code currently through Twilio. And those long codes, just that format, has certain regulations on it. Like you can't send more than, I think it's 250 or 300 SMS over a long code per day, which again, it's not a problem. Each location has if they have an individual one. If you got a client that's getting 250 clients a day, then they're kicking ass. So that's not really a problem. So we don't fall under that. But there was a bunch of other issues with those long codes and the deliverability. So the other thing that they were looking at is the actual link that we're sending, because like I said, if they're trying to reduce the overall bandwidth, they're also going to look at that same link. And if it's a bit.ly link, then they just didn't like bit.ly link, I think, across the board. From my understanding and talking to other people, they're like, just if you had a bit.ly link, a certain percentage were just going to get blocked. So that was the second one. And the third issue, well, really, those were the first two main ones. There was some other issues, but it's more techie stuff. And there was things that we did change in the back office of our software. And it would be hard for me to explain it anyway. And I also kind of feel like I don't know if I want to, just from the standpoint of, look, I'm a nice guy, but there's no sense in me trying to help out the competitors like Birdseye or any of those guys. This is big companies with tons and tons of employees. That's why they charge so much for their software. They're going to have these problems if they haven't already. And I would be surprised if they've really noticed it, because there would be no reason for them to notice it. They're just selling a software program to a whole bunch of people, selling into a whole bunch of different industries. So I doubt that they had that same luxury that we had of being able to notice these red flags pretty quickly. Although that being said, that doesn't mean that they won't notice it in a month. I think they will. And then they'll have to do exactly what we did, is figure out a way to make sure that everything was more deliverable. Well, every once in a while in business, when these things happen, it's huge pain in the ass, number one. But every once in a while, these things happen, and it actually ends up being a really good thing. This is one of those situations, because what it made us do is go, well, wait a second. I don't ever want this to be an issue ever again. I didn't even know there was a thing about deliverability. I thought hey, if we're sending it through Twilio, I would imagine every single one gets, delivered, unless the carrier has a weird hiccup or something like that. Didn't really understand the difference in the various carriers and how they all work different and all this stuff. This is pretty complex. I'm sure somebody told me once upon a time, and I'm sure I went, just, is it working? And if they said yes, then I was like, okay, that's fine. Just, I did not need to know, basically. So in this re-education again, what I saw was, look, I can't afford to have my clients have even a 1 or 2% decrease in deliverability. I love iReview Builder, and this reseller program is far more successful than I ever thought. I didn't build it to be successful, really. I mean, it was really more just a cool way to offer a solution to other salespeople like me. And of course, as we all know, it's grown and changed, and we've done really well with it. But my main concern day in and day out are my own clients. These people are going to keep our program forever as long as it keeps working. And that's that's a big amount of income that we rely on and that we want to keep going. So I said, look, I don't want to just put a Band-Aid on this. I don't want to just fix this problem today. I want to make sure that that we're beyond reproach. I want to make sure that if any other changes, if they decide that they want to get more strict or whatever, if any of that stuff happens, we're still fine. In fact, I want to be the company that has the best deliverable SMS anywhere in the industry. So obviously the very first discussion was, well, Twilio is having a rough time, in my opinion. They've got a lot of people that are having problems. And again, these are all developers. A lot of developers use Twilio as their solution for their software. And those guys are probably freaking out because, again, most of the people using SMS, they're sending marketing texts. They're actually, loyalty programs. They're sending, text to keep in contact with customers, sales text, things like that. So they're in a little bit different camp, but that deliverability is just as important. But I think that Twilio is they've got their hands full. So my first thing was, well, can we not work with Twilio? And my insider in telecommunications company was able to introduce us to somebody who's basically a direct to the switch of how SMS are sent. In other words, this guy has the relationship with the carriers. And he also pointed out that we were in a really strong position. In fact, he was very, very surprised that we were with Twilio, being that the number of SMS that we send per month and the amount of phone numbers that we have per month. So that's kind of crazy because the way Twilio works, and again, don't quote me on this exactly, but they're a middleman to another conduit who then has a relationship to the person near the switch. So you're like 2 or 3 steps away from how that SMS gets sent. And if there's a problem, you need to go and track down in each one of those things to find out if, some kind of workaround or whatever. It's also why the cost is the cost through them because, their first guy has a little bit of a markup, second guy has a little bit of a markup, Twilio has a little bit of a markup, and then you guys are buying it from Twilio. So nobody's really complaining about the cost you guys have been spending because that was it. That was the option. It's not like, there were some other companies with maybe a little bit lower text, but then they charge a little bit more per phone number. And then, who were they? So we just kind of trucked along with them. But again, this guy pointed out, he's like, look, guys, let me introduce you to somebody and you guys can just be, direct to the switch. And again, guys, look, this is about the time on these calls, and I've been on more than I can count in the last 30 days, where I would sort of just glaze over a little bit, and I would lean on our developers. And, of course, Alan was on a lot of those calls. And I would just say, guys, look, you know what I want. If this stuff is making sense to you, then just figure it out and then bring it back to me and tell me, what we need to do or what we can do. So ultimately, what we came up with is a way where we are direct. So we're not those 2 steps away, which means right there we already have a lot more control. We were able to save a little bit of money, but not a huge amount, because the other thing that we found out that would really make us to where we are just untouchable is if we switched everyone to 800 numbers. So, and by the way, I'm going to get into these slides in just a second. I just want to kind of tell you my rough story, and then we'll go through slide by slide. So, so in using those 800 numbers, they have a whole different regulation. They also have a different pricing model and all that for the text, and it gets kind of complicated. It's more expensive. But because we saved money overall by being direct, we could reallocate that savings and just bump it up a little bit into the sending over an 800 number. Because if we use the 800 numbers plus a few of these other changes that we are about to, we've already put into effect on my software, I'm about to do it to you guys, your software for iRB Builder, then it's just, not only will we not have a problem, but overall here's what I got. In the 2-week period that I watched it, my open rate was about somewhere close to 15%, a little south of that. 15% increase in the number of people that clicked on it, which, by the way, guys, you can do the math. The more people that click on the link for the text that you send out, or the more people that receive that text, the more people that are ultimately going to do feedback and also post a review or refer a friend or whatever. That number just exponentially helps all across the board. So that's really where the tire hits the road there. That's really the most important thing we do is we can have all these things, but we got to make sure as many people get his text as possible. So by using that 800 number, my concern was, well, wait a second. Wasn't it a good idea to, like, if a location is in 305 area code, wasn't it a good idea to send them a text from the 305 area code? I had never done anything different, so it was just based on an assumption. It was one of those, like, real world application things we didn't know. I just assumed that would be better, so that's what we did. But I found that by having the text delivered from an 800 number, when the customer got it, they were more likely to open it. That was awesome. That was really, really good news. So overall, this is the thing. So this is what I'm about to go through exactly the changes. I'm going to show you a few of the areas that we're improving, but that was the biggest thing we needed to improve. So now what you guys need to know is, number one, you can be excited about that. Look, if we improve the click-through rate by 15%, it's a noticeable difference. If you could pick up an extra 2 or 3 Google reviews a month per client, that's huge. And if you spread that over a 12-month period, is that an extra 3 or 4 or 5 customer referrals? I don't know. I mean, but it is. There is a number in there. All it is good news across the board, and I'm happy about it because I know that nobody else is going to be doing it. They will probably figure out some solution, but I would be very, very surprised if anyone went through the lengths that we did to make sure that our texts are always delivered, no matter what these monkeys do, changing stuff around and monkeying with this and changing this thing over here. It just couldn't be. We wanted to make sure they got delivered. And again, selfishly, my first concern was for my own clients, but it affected all of you guys too in a really positive, great way. So for those of you who are still awake, now I'm going to go to the next slide and show you this stuff. Now, by the way, do you guys need to know any of this? No, you don't really need to know it for your selling. I wouldn't even bring this up in a pitch. It's just stuff that you need to know because you guys are resellers. Things will look a little bit different. You got an opportunity to save some money, which I'm going to show you in a second. But, you guys I want you to understand it, but don't somehow think that this is an important sales point. It is from the standpoint that now you can say to Mr. Client, out of all the companies, we have the very best deliverable SMS rate that you could have. Now, I don't even know if I would bring that up because they'd be like, wait, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? So it's not, I don't think it's a sales point. Just know that your program's going to perform better than it did before. And by the way, it was already doing pretty good before. So those new changes, here's what I meant by sending the same message. So you guys know what your template looks like, right? So when you guys set up a client, you guys have the option to choose like just the canned 3-question feedback, or you choose that and then you clone it and then go in there and you create your own. Well, a lot of you guys, just this message here, the immediate SMS, nobody changed it. They just kept it the same. So you're talking about tens of thousands of businesses every single day, and tens and tens of thousands of people every single day receiving a text of the message that's exactly the same. So obviously we need to change that. Can't have that. We got to make sure that there is some customization in there. You want to change this a little bit. So moving forward, part of our training will be like when you set up your template, you're going to make sure that you just tweak your message a little bit. Again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You still want it to be really, really short, but you're going to move it around a little bit. Now, in addition to that one, just the immediate SMS, what we've added was a spinner that takes whatever you create and it spins it into 2 different versions. So you're going to have a total of 3 different versions for each text that goes out. If you don't use the spinner, that's fine. You could actually just type out a second option. And when I say it needs to be different, it could just be like, thank YOU, and the second one's thank just the letter U. It doesn't have to be day and night different, right? Just needs to be different enough for a computer who is looking at this is all zeros and ones to this computer, so it just all doesn't look exactly the same. So our system is now going to spin the messages, and it's always going to choose one of your 3 versions to each one of these template text that goes out. So that's a real simple thing. Like I said, you guys don't need to worry about it. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be a very, very slight change in the text. But that in itself will help dramatically. Doesn't fix the problem across the board, though. Probably is a good Band-Aid, but it doesn't ensure the deliverability no matter what. So we also went to the second step of the bit.ly link. It's no longer going to be bit.ly. It'll look very similar to bit.ly. In fact, we have one of those domains that's kind of similar to that. We're going to have a few other ones, and it will also spin the link. So a link will be assigned to that customer. It will always be that link for that customer, and then it'll create another unique link for the next customer. Guys, this is nothing that you guys need to be paying attention to or need to know other than just on this webinar here. Okay. But as you hear about this change, because you guys are going to hear it probably in a month or 2, especially if you're doing any kind of SMS marketing through some other platform, you're going to hear about it. It could be in February, and you guys are going to say, well, wait a second. We already addressed that in my review builder back in December. So, again, these are the things we're doing. They will probably have to figure it out and do something similar as far as that goes. So those were the changes. The other change is in the actual phone number. And this is where it's going to be an option to you guys. Because at the end of the day, if you want to keep Twilio, you could. But I would say that you're just shooting yourself in the foot. We've had a lot of conversations over specifically this morning, all the way up until this webinar. I was really like, I almost wanted to make it where you guys couldn't keep using Twilio, but I just don't think that's fair. I think ultimately you guys, it's your choice. Do what you want. We're going to make some of these changes, so the text could still go out. You won't have the same delivery rate, so there'll be ones that get blocked and so forth. But you could still keep using Twilio if you want. But what we're doing is also giving you guys an option where you can switch over and use nothing but 800 numbers. And on that platform too, you don't need to, all your SMS is taken care of and so forth. So you're saving a fortune in your Twilio costs. But for those of you who love Twilio for whatever reason, you could keep it. But that changing over to the 800 number where the text is coming from is huge. It's our fail-safe great move that we're doing. And yes, it costs more for the 800 number overall. Us, not you guys. It would if you kept Twilio. If you want to keep Twilio and change each of your companies and start using an 800 number or an 855, 877, 866, whatever it is. Twilio charges $2 per number. So your number cost goes up by 100%. Yeah, it's not going to put you out of business, but it is kind of throwing away money because we're going to give you a different option and a better option. But at any rate, that was kind of I don't want to say argument, but that's where we were, I needed to be talked into doing that because I kind of felt like, well, why make Twilio still available if it's not really the good choice at the end of the day? And again, what they were telling me, and I came to that same conclusion, is that I don't know what other business you guys are doing. Maybe you use Twilio for something else, or you already got Twilio. Maybe you're good with it. So at any rate, you could just keep what you got and keep trucking along. So that is an option. And yes, you can get 800 numbers through Twilio. It's just costs more. So, but this is, where you're assigning the phone numbers when you set up a deal. That's what will be changing. If you switch over to the iReview Builder system of sending the text and the phone numbers, you don't even need to assign a phone number because our system's going to do it automatically. In fact, each client will have a 800 number assigned to each customer. Now, a different customer 3 days later may have the same phone number that they get something from, but it's going to spin that number. So if you sent out 100 texts, it's going to send out 100 texts over 100 different 800 numbers. How cool is that, guys? See, that's what I'm saying. Was that overkill? Today, maybe. But in the long run, probably not. And if it can increase the deliverability rate by 15%, well, then who cares? I'd say let's just do it. Because again, once it's in there, it doesn't affect you guys. Nothing looks different. Nobody knows anything. Now, at this point, I'm sure that it's already, you guys are probably putting in the question, and I'm sure Alan's answering it. But wait a second. My client uses keywords. They text the keyword into the long code. Are you going to be able to do that? Well, the answer is yeah, you can do that. Keep Twilio. And yeah, you could do it on the new platform too, but it will be a number that will be assigned to that location, just the one number. You wouldn't use the spinner, which again, at the end of the day, not a big deal. But I would also tell you guys, look, you think they're using that keyword? I bet you they're not. I would bet money on it. And probably if there's a 0.5% of the clients set up that are using keywords on a regular basis, I'd be amazed. People just don't text keywords into short codes, much less long codes. So if you've got a client, you might have trained them on it, and you may have set one up for them. But if you go back and look at that client in Twilio, you'll see that they probably got two keywords sent in. One was when you were testing it, and one was when the client tested it. So just keywords don't really work all that well, which is why I've told you guys that all along. And this is why we built the portal. If they worked really great, there would have never been a portal. I would have just said, hey, just simple enough, text this keyword to this phone number and you're all good. But, we know through experience it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen enough. So that is that. So you guys, some of you guys, if you decide you want to keep Twilio, you'll still have the the options of the, changing. We already changed. Some of that stuff is happening in the back office, so that change will be with you guys anyway. We'll change the content of those templates that are going out and the link itself. The difference will be that you're still sending from Twilio, which at the end of the day, there's this kind of ghost in the machine, in my opinion, with Twilio there's a problem happening that I can't trace back in some of the stuff that they're doing. And it could just be overwhelm. I don't really know, but I don't feel safe having my clients there. And luckily now we don't need to. Now we're direct. So it would be insane to do that. It'd be like saying, if you can buy stuff straight from the factory, you would of course do that. Or would you want to buy from a store that actually bought their inventory from another store, who then originally bought from the factory? Yeah. You want to go straight to the source. You want as few people in between as possible, because all that does is not only increase the cost, but what I'm more concerned with is it decreases the communication of what is really going on when you got so many of these people in between. And if something did change in a year from now or 6 months from now or a day from now, that is dramatic, that we got to jump on. I want to know that I can do that. And I just clearly cannot do that with Twilio. Okay, so let's move right along. So this is, I think this is where I actually, yeah. All right. So for those of you who didn't understand my hemming and hawing explanation of these changes, let me read this to you. This is some of the information that was sent over to me when I said, well, can you lay out like some stuff so I can give them a better education than Mercer's hemming and hawing and stuttering and stammering. What is P2P and A2P messaging? Person-to-person messaging, P2P, is defined as two-way SMS or MMS messaging. For example, anonymous conversations between two users, surveys, and group messagings are considered to be P2P messages. Bear with me. This is all going to make sense why I'm telling you this. Application to person or A2P messaging is one-way SMS, to which recipients are not expected to reply. An A2P messaging includes, but is not limited to, marketing messages, appointment reminders, notifications, PIN codes, sending a text to get a Google review. A2P messages can be subject to local county regulations. For example, France or India, there's going to have different regulations. These restrictions can have delivery implications that customers should be aware of, such as message filtering by recipient carriers or delay message delivery. What does this mean to you guys? It means that when you're using a regular long code phone number like we've been doing, not only do we have the basic overall laws that we all know about and we follow, but in different areas and different carriers will have their own set of filters and so forth. So over these last 6 years, where I assumed that every text was going out and every customer was getting it, because I had nothing to compare it to, right? I got great results, so figured it was working. Well, the truth of the matter is that this whole time, the delivery rate has not been what it could have been, which to me is crazy. I'm really happy that it worked with, without having these changes. But if you continue to use Twilio and use the long code, the standard long code, you're still going to have to deal with all that stuff. In fact, even if you did that, if we were going to provide long codes like that, which we could, but we're not going to, you would still run into the same problem. So that's why we're switching to the 800 number. The regulations are much, they lean in our favor a ton more. The reason not everyone else does it is because of the cost. But not everyone else can go to, the person at the switch with millions and millions of texts with a pretty big account and say, hey, I would like this really good pricing. So anyway, that really benefited us. The original wide area telephone service is obsolete. North America toll-free numbers are controlled by an intelligent network database in which any toll-free number may be directed to a local or long-distance geographic telephone number, a T carrier or primary rate interface line under the beep, 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 beep. Here, I didn't mean to change the slide, sorry. But look, I don't know if we really needed it. I know Alan sent me this, and he's probably going to be mad if I don't go through it. But you guys, look, the importance is that there's a huge difference between it's the same thing I've been saying. It's just the 800 number is just a lot better. That's the bottom line. If you want to know the specifics on why, I can send you these slides that will kind of break it down a little bit better to you. So, you know, these were the things. It didn't take me long to say, well, I don't care if it's $5 a phone number. I still would have switched over. Yeah, it would have sucked. But if it means a difference in that high of a percentage of deliverability improvement, it's a no-brainer. I just wish I would have known about it a long time ago. I didn't, and by the way it was performing before was good enough. I didn't know I had the option for it to be better. So this is making sense to everybody, by the way, because I could have probably stopped 30 minutes ago. The most important thing to know is that we have to change the messages, use a spinner. We need to change that link, which we've already got, that strategy, and we should all be sending from 800 numbers. That's it. And then a couple of other things that we're not going to share with you guys, but some technical stuff in our back end that does make our relationship direct with the carriers a lot more amicable. So, and though that's a big deal for all of us in the big picture. Let's see if it keeps going. It does. See, a temporary fix for deliverability has been to assign an expensive 800 number to your accounts. By the way, so this is what we've done temporarily for you guys. Some of you guys that were already experiencing the problem, where your client actually pointed it out. And the reason that they saw it or discovered it, it was just so happens that either, you know, they had one of those carriers that was blocking the text, or one of their customers had it. It's just a matter of luck. We're all experiencing it. We're just not all hearing about it. So it's happening across the board. You just don't really know about it because neither does your client. I mean, there's enough of them that do get it. It's not like a huge number aren't, up until the last 30 days, where we saw that number of like, oh, wow. So AT&T crossed the board, maybe. Just not getting it from that specific phone number. And what it is the phone number gets banned. So when you have one phone number assigned to your client and AT&T bans it, well, then it means nobody that uses AT&T as their carrier is going to get that text. That's not a world where we want to live in, where we're sending text from Twilio and going, well, so how do we know if it is going to get delivered by each carrier? That was my number one question is there some way to see, like, to see that it was delivered and received? And the answer is no, that this doesn't exist. It's not available for, anyone. So the only way we can do it really is through that click-through rate, which for us is still a pretty good measurement, because again, if scientifically speaking, if you have large case studies, the bigger the case study, then the more accurate those numbers will be, right? So for sure we're doing that. Again, for those of you who just love Twilio for whatever reason, I would strongly suggest that you switch over to what I'm about to show you guys. I don't know why you wouldn't want to. On average, you're going to save, it's like $100. When I looked across the board of the average number of clients you guys have, you're talking about $100. For some of you guys, you're going to save $600 a month. This is a big number. I'm talking about every month. That's not just a one-time deal. That's your actual cost all the way across the board. So not only will you be able to save that money, but you'll also be having your text more deliverable. And I think that's even more important than saving the money. But so what are the iReview Builder updates overall? Well, there's a new, and by the Alan, I know I probably have some of these wrong. Again, gives them an overall idea. All this stuff, by the way, when you switch over, you guys won't have to do anything. This is something we're doing. You guys don't need to know. Clients don't need to know. What we do need to know is if you do have a client that wants the phone number that they have, where it's a big deal, like they not only printed business cards, but that they're actually using it. I don't care if you printed business cards so that they can text a keyword into a shortcode. If no one's using it, well then, oh well. Sometimes you got to take a step backwards to take 3 steps forward. This is one of those times. So if that is your client, you know, what I would suggest is just let them know. Say, nobody's using this keyword anyway. So, but if that is you, if you have that client, then you need to submit a support ticket and say, hey, my client, ABC Automotive, has to keep that same phone number. And then, by the way, we'll do a little homework too and see if we can't, if in fact they really do need to keep it. My illusion is they probably do not. You would be surprised, but if they do, they can. There is nothing written in stone here. They absolutely can keep the number if they have to. But there's a new 800 number spinner for all the rest of us that take the smart, safer, less expensive route. And what that spinner is, again, is y'all don't really need to know anything other than when you set up your client, you'll no longer assign a phone number. Our program is just going to automatically randomly pick the numbers, or not randomly, I guess it is based on like a round robin type thing. But it will assign that 800 number to that individual client. So that client will be associated with that 800 number where the text was sent out. So in other words, you could look for that client in the system under that phone number. If he goes, I've been getting a text from this number. Well, yeah, we can look it up. We can see if it was assigned to him. Again, that's in the back office stuff. Is that anything you guys will ever need? Probably not, but the accountability is important for us. Because you want to make sure that you can always track all this stuff. But the 800 number spinner, really, really cool. Improves your deliverability. New template spinner, or option to create 2 additional versions. So even if you don't have the spinner available to you, you can just, you copy paste your message and then change a word, move things around. We'll have a whole training on this, although I don't know why it needs to be any longer than 5 minutes, but we'll have a whole thing on it on Tuesday night. And then that replay will be in the back office. While I'm on that same subject, the replay from last night, was that last night? No, from Tuesday night is in the back office under most recent videos. If you guys weren't on that call, you should watch that replay because I thought it was pretty good. New short link spinner and private domain. Again, this is just something that's changing. If I wouldn't have pointed these things out, you would have never even noticed. Straight to switch for SMS telecom carrier relationships. Again, I just can't tell you how much better I'm going to sleep at night. Especially after losing quite a bit of sleep when all this happened. I was nervous, guys. It was like, oh my gosh, if this continues, my people will notice. They nitpick this stuff. So, again, it was just amazing that we turned a negative thing into being really positive for all of us. And then lastly, it's dramatically improved the deliverability of the SMS, which at the end of the day, what does that mean for us? Just means the more people that get the text, the more people that will click the link. The more people that click the link, the more people that will leave positive feedback or leave a Google review or tell that business owner which advertising is working, or do a friend and family referral, or sign up for online bill pay, or download their mobile app, or all those things. They're all reliant on that one little delivery part that we assumed was just fine. And by the way, if there is any confusion, because I keep saying it was just fine, we didn't have a problem with it, what it was before. It's not that way anymore. So we will never the genie's out of the bottle on this. We will not go back to where we were 2 months ago with Twilio, where it was working acceptable for all of us. Where it was, we didn't really notice. If somebody didn't get a text, it wasn't that big of a deal. That won't happen anymore. It's because these carriers have instituted these third-party companies that are flagging these. So with Twilio, you will continue to have less than perfect deliverability. However, these other improvements we've made in the software will overcome a good percentage of those. But if you continue to use that long code phone number, you're still going to have those other issues. So what does this mean to you guys? Well, look, the average of you guys are with right now, the way Twilio works is every phone number that you get that you're assigning to a client costs $1, right? And then if you got an 800 number, it's $2. So the average location, this is with SMS and with that phone number, this is the average active location right now. You guys are spending $3.50. It's actually a little bit less, but anyway, I just rounded it up. It's about $3.50 a month is your cost for SMS and for that phone number currently in Twilio. If you keep Twilio and you start using the 800 number, which I would suggest you guys do, then your average cost per client is going to be $4.50. Still not bad if you sold it for $97 or $87 or $77, whatever you sold it for. If all your only cost is $4.50, it's still not bad, right? So that is where you are now, and you can continue to keep doing that. Right now, that means that for when you have 30 accounts, you're spending about $105. More realistically, it's going to be more like about $135 when it's at $450 per account if you changed them all to 800 numbers. Or you can do the smart thing and move over to our pool of people and pay one flat monthly rate and not have to worry about this mess. And you've got a couple of different options on that. But the way this works is for just $9.40, that should say, by the way, 97. Maybe I opened the slide. I swear I saved that after I made that correction. $9.47 a month is going to cover your first 30 accounts. Covers the 800 numbers for all 30 accounts. It provides you with the spinner for the templates, setting up the templates. Provides you with the 800 number spinner as well. Again, all those things just improve your deliverability. And it provides all the SMS. So for those same 30 accounts, typically you would be spending about $105. Or if you switched over to 800 numbers, you're going to be spending about $135. Okay. Option number 2. By the way, Alan, I think these slides I think the only thing I got that it didn't save was just the 47. It's 97 cents, not 47 cents. Sorry, guys. Or option number 2 is, and again, this is special pricing we're doing right now. We're going to have to increase this price because the reason I'm doing it this low is because I'm kind of gambling here that most of you guys are going to go, oh, well, this sort of is a no-brainer. Yeah, I want to do this. Because the reason we can do it is, number one, our costs are lower than it was with Twilio, so that's yay for us across the board. But they're not that low. The reason we can do it this low is because we can use y'all. It's like dollar cost averaging amongst all of you guys. See, some of you guys have 150 accounts, 200 accounts, whatever. And then other guys just started. You've got say 5 or 10 accounts. So again, we can sort of spread that over, and everyone gets to enjoy that savings kind of as you go up. So I am hoping as many of you guys purchase this program as possible. If you don't, then what it will affect is just the new people that are buying the program, say in January or February. Or if you decide like in February, you're like, well, geez, this does kind of seem crazy. Maybe I should move over. Well, then it's going to be a higher price. But for the 100 accounts, right now you're spending an average of $350 per month, or if you're using the 800 number, you're spending about $450 a month. That's every month. This is not that's just the average of what you're spending. Some of you guys are spending more than that. You don't think about it because who cares? Big deal. It's $450 a month, but you're making $9,700 or whatever you're getting on that. Let's say maybe it's probably realistically more like $7,000 or $8,000 a month on the 100 accounts. That's your income. And then your expense, your only hard cost expenses for those accounts is $450. But now you have another option. Instead of spending $450 every single month, you can just pay $14.97 a month, and you get all the phone numbers for those 100 accounts and all the SMS. Whichever one of these you buy today, I don't care if you only have one account. Why would you want to get this one? Because you're locked in at whatever you purchased today, as you guys know in the past. Right? I don't increase the price on whatever somebody commits to. And I'm hoping all of you guys do it. I really want 90% of our resellers to get on one of these programs. That really would help the collective. It helps the group. If they don't, all right, that's fine. We'll be all right. But I will increase the price higher for those new people. I'd rather not do that. But it really depends on how many of you guys take that. So that's how that works. And it also, the other reason we hope you guys move over is because you don't have to deal with Twilio anymore. Anytime you guys have an issue with Twilio, right now you're submitting a support ticket, and then Alan or Emily, not Gwen on those, but Alan or Emily have got to figure out your Twilio issue. So they got to get your username and password and log into your Twilio and all this stuff. And then if they still can't figure it out, then you submit a support ticket, and then they still take a while to come in. The customer service isn't where it could be. And with this, it's just a pool of numbers and SMS that we're already going to have. Because I'm buying a huge number of these every single month for my own clients. So that benefits you guys as well. So it would be a smarter thing to do. There's no catch in this. Is there any kind of small print on the SMS? Yeah, there is. And I think the number is going to be like 2,500 SMS a month per location. And it'll be just in the small print on our site. We'll just add it to those terms and conditions. Nobody is going to would exceed that currently using our program. Again, this is just for reputation. This isn't for using like any sort of texting marketing option that we have in our program, which I don't even know if anyone used that. Well, actually, I do know like 3 or 4 people that use that thing. I don't think a bunch of you guys do. But no, this is just for the basic portal and so forth. So using 2,500 texts per month, if you exceeded that, then that means that your client for this one location has like, 500 or 600 customers every single month. That's a lot. Unless you sold a restaurant or something like that. So again, those are the terms and conditions. It's also averaged up. So we look at 2,500 per location, not just one location. That means that you would have 250,000 SMS to use per month. There's no way you're going to exceed that with 100 accounts. Unless you only sell, I can't even think of an example. Like somebody that has that many monthly customers. Like an online business or something. If you do have one of those customers that does have like 1,000 new customers a month, do what you did when you sold that person, which was you reached out to me and we talked about it. Because it is out of the ordinary. You guys know when you have a customer that has got thousands of customers, or a client that has thousands of customers every month, that's all we always end up doing some kind of a la carte thing for you guys anyway. So for 99.99999% of the rest of you guys, you're fine. 97 a month is all you'll ever spend. You'll have all the 800 numbers you need. You'll have all the SMS that you need for your first 100 accounts. Plus you have the simplicity of us being direct, and most important is you've got the dramatically improved deliverability rate. So, even when I'm explaining this, the thing that sounds exciting about it is, number one, it does seem ridiculous to spend $450 a month if you could do it for $15 a month. That's cool. But if you guys really think about it, and maybe it'll take like a couple of months for you to see the difference. But if you increase by 15% of that deliverability rate, that does improve everything. It's a bigger deal than it probably sounds like. So again, I'm really, really excited about that. Plus, I have to deal with, or at least hear about. Luckily, I don't have to deal with it directly, of the issues that you guys have with Twilio that we hear about all the time. So, and I don't know what's happening with them or what's going to happen with them, but I'm just glad that we were able to come up with this option. And by the way, it was huge. It saved me a fortune. Which, by the way, we had to reinvest into the 800 number. So our net savings may not have been all that great, but who cares? We're able to dramatically improve the overall performance of the product without a large investment. It's unheard of. So really, really excited about that, guys. So if you guys are going to move over, okay, here's kind of where you go from here. Because hopefully I haven't confused everyone. Because I'm sure that you guys are like, well, but what happens? What am I going to do? I get this program, and then what do I got to do? I don't think you have to do anything. I think it all just happens. Would you guys, Alan, am I wrong on this? I literally do not think you guys do anything. It's just based on whichever one you get. Where all the switches happen, on our end. You guys don't need to do anything. So whichever program you get, though, that is what you are locked in on. You can't buy the $9.97 now and then decide next month that you want the $14.97, because next month that might be $29.97, which is still an amazing deal for 100 clients. So let's see here. 100 accounts for a smaller plan. Oh, sorry, guys. Another typo here. It says 100 accounts. Right here it should be 30 accounts. Man, I hate these errors. Let me see if I can change that on the fly. Probably not. But when you click the PayPal, actually I could, Alan, but I don't think these guys need me to change that. You guys all understand what I'm saying? This one is for 30 accounts, and this one's for 100 accounts. I just had a typo here. I obviously copied and pasted this. I just didn't change that. Surprise, surprise. Is anyone surprised by these errors of mine? No. These are my typical things. So, Alan, I think they got it. So, you guys, the $9.97 gets you 30 accounts, which is great, and the $14.97 gets you 100 accounts. What are the new costs going to be? I don't know. I can't quantify that yet because it depends on how many of you guys sign up. If all of you guys take it, which I would think you do, 90% should sign up for it, well, then I don't have to increase it all that much for new people. But if for some strange reason, only half of you guys do, well, then I'm going to have to increase it a lot more. So it's hard to say what is the price if you don't choose the 100 accounts now. Because clearly, if you only have 2 accounts set up, why would you need 100 accounts? You don't. You're just locked in on that. But at that pricing, you do get the spinners as well. There's no extra cost, and I think moving forward, that will be a slight extra cost. Although I'm not sure about that. We talked a little bit about that. So let me read some of these questions. I want to make sure you guys understand. Let's see if everyone's still awake. You guys still awake? I know some of this stuff is boring, but I promise you this is exciting stuff. And the reason it's exciting is I'm telling you, write down the time and the day that Mercer told you this. It's the 6th of December, 2018 at 2:04. And for the next couple of months, if you are doing SMS marketing with other companies, you're going to start, number one, seeing problems, and then hearing about them, and then hearing about the fixes. And Lord knows what they're going to charge you for whatever their new fix solution is. So that being said, there's a platform coming soon through. It's not. I'm only associated with it from the standpoint of It's some of my guys, put it together. But it's a texting platform for you guys to use this same sort of Twilio replacement program for your text marketing and all your other texting needs, whatever they may be. So there'll be some kind of website, I assume, that they'll create, and I'll throw it up in the back office or something like that. So if you are doing text marketing, don't panic. There will be a solution coming, but I would start kind of looking at your clients a little bit more and just see if you can notice if it goes down, it just kind of keep note of that and say, well, all right, it did go down. Let's see how it looks in January. So again, nothing to panic about. It's the only time to panic where it's a big deal is when the delivery of the text is so crucial and there's such an immediate response to said text, like in iReview Builder program. With text messaging, like loyalty programs and all that, it's a little bit different. It might be hard to quantify over a very short period of time, or like birthday marketing programs or whatever. So, but it's going to be a headache for a lot of developers over the next several months, and I hope that they come up with some of the same great solutions that we did. I'm sure some of those they'll come up with, but some of our back end ones, I hope they find it, but I'm not going to tell them. I mean, again, I'm a nice guy, but I think that they can find that out on their own. I like knowing that my program's going to be more secure with those changes. Can this work for our iDirect Note? Yeah, that's the same, right, Alan? Yeah, January for iDirect Note. But by the way, can we? You're going to kill me on this, Alan. But what if we even like if they want to include it in iDirect Note, as long as it's not ridiculous, like it's just number of accounts, it could even be part of that. A couple of those could be included in the same price, right? A few of them, and then maybe like $1 or $2 more. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I don't want to do like this. I don't want people with iDirect Note to have to pay another $9.97. It seems ridiculous, because on that program it's even less SMS a lot of the time. So yeah, the answer is yes, and that was a great question. And what I'm going to try to do is sort of bundle them together. So you'll be a certain amount of those accounts will be included in these prices, unless there's some weird caveat I'm not thinking of right this second. But if so, it would be like if it have to add $1 or something for that. But any kind of SMS that you do with me in whatever program I've been associated with or continue to be associated with, it's all going to be through this platform. That's it. There's no way in hell I would ever not do this now. It would be crazy. In fact, it is. There's a part of me that's like, man. How much better could things have been had I changed some of those things over a year ago? But again, it wasn't even a concern until they made those changes now, and we just noticed that we could be getting that better result. So need to stop overthinking it. All right, guys. So look, if you're ready to move over, all you need to do is go to. Let me advance my slide. First of all, that first savings is $125 a month over your Twilio and $435 a month Twilio for that second program. Pretty cool. But if you guys are ready to get started, all you need to do is go to save.ireviewbuilder.com. By the way, I put an exclamation point here. I definitely should not have done that because it's just regular.com. There is no exclamation point on the end of that. Man, Alan, I really made all kinds of errors on here, didn't I? So you guys just go to save.ireviewbuilder.com, save.ireviewbuilder.com, okay? And choose the program that works best for you. If you can afford the extra $5 in the long run, it is the right move to do. Again, you'll be locked in at that price forever, and you at least know for your first 100 clients. You're just never spending more than $15 a month, which is pretty cool. So all you need to do is go there, and then everything else happens on its own. The change happens in the next day or two, Alan, right? So today's Thursday. So by Monday, will all those numbers be changed over, you think? Monday or Tuesday? So by Monday or Tuesday next week, guys, it will, if not sooner, right? Yeah. So Monday. And the issue really is just the phone numbers themselves, getting those numbers. Now, by the way, this is all US and Canada, right? Not UK and all those things. Unfortunately, not Canada. This is all US numbers. Well, most of you Canadians are getting US anyway, right? Yeah. And it's a US issue. I don't know if Canada has done this yet. Although I would imagine they probably have something similar. Their regulations are going to be different. And of course, and don't know how that works. But for those of you buying phone numbers in other countries, you guys, these things aren't affecting you, the things we're talking about on this conversation. And unfortunately, you're probably still stuck with Twilio for now from that pricing standpoint, because again, they've got the numbers for most countries that you guys are in. And, it's the downside is those, $5 per number, $8 per number, $15 per number for one of the countries one of you guys are in. But I even think a lot of you guys, if I remember correctly, like all my Australians, for the most part, well, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of focus back on business here in the States. Not everyone. I know Pete doesn't. He sells Australian companies. But yeah, everything we talked about here today is all US based stuff. Was where the problem was. They're the guys that have to throw the wrench in the gears. Which this is one of those few times that I'm glad they did it. Don't tell them that. I did not realize we had such negotiation power. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't think about it. Do you know what I mean? This isn't a great example of what we're telling business owners every day. When you guys call up business owners, and you're like, well, of course you didn't know that these reviews were this important, because you're doing something different. Your attention is set someplace else. But now that you know, and that's kind of what happened to us, is somebody went, hey, why are you guys paying so much and so far away and willing to give up all your control? Why? I was like, I didn't know there was another option. So anyway, so they did that, worked for us. If you guys are ready, and look, if you want to do a favor for the rest of the iReview Builder group moving forward, you'll sign up. By the way, these are only going to be available for this offer, like I think we'll give people Monday, till Monday, or maybe Tuesday. I think Monday. Monday? Okay. So you guys got to decide by Monday. If I don't put a deadline on it, then a lot of you guys will drag it on. I know it's the holidays. You got other stuff going on. So what you need to do is choose whichever one works for you. Go to save.ireviewbuilder.com. Then here's another important thing you need to do. You guys need to do what I did. So you've got to go into Twilio, and you need to change where it says automatic recharging. Just either turn it off, or if you're still using phone numbers for something else that you do, like recording stuff, or if you're in YST and you're using those numbers for the phone system or whatever, maybe you just have it when it gets down to below whatever the lowest number is, it's going to charge another $10 or something. But for those of you who aren't going to be using it at all, then just opt out. For those of you who do have a balance in your Twilio, and you're like, oh man, maybe I should use my Twilio until my balance is gone, then I'll switch over. I would tell you that's kind of like foolhardy. It's like, cutting off your nose to spite your face. If the problem is over there, and it's going to cost you more money, then even if you lose $10 or even if it was $20 in your Twilio account, who cares? Because 1 month makes up the difference. And you're getting locked in at this low price. And from a standpoint of being a good part of the iReview Builder team, you can get it now. Because it does help a lot of other people. And it helps us. Don't get me wrong. I want all of you guys to get it because, again, it does sort of justify what I did here with the low price and sort of the guarantee. Because as you guys look, you can do the math. You can see that, this could get real expensive real quick at $14.97. But not when all of you guys do it. It's dollar cost average over a large number of people, and the whole thing works. If not, then it might cost a little money for a few months. But we'll just up the price for the next people. And I'd rather not do that. So if that matters to you, again, look, this is your business. And this is your job to save you money. You can't worry about the next guy too much, but it is good karma. So if more of you will go ahead and choose today, that's even better. And if you guys have anybody else that you know that uses iReview Builder, hey, ask them. Just make sure that they were on this webinar. So that is one issue I'm still trying to figure out, is that because I don't reach out to you guys all the time, although lately I have, because we've had all those other programs, which is really weird. That's probably not going to happen in 2019, although I don't know if I come up with other ideas. But it just so happened in the last several months, of course, we had Leads Inbound and we had Appersnap. But normally you guys, I don't email much. But for whatever reason, when some people sign up, they're not getting our email. So this webinar here, some people are going to go, what, there was a change? I didn't see anything about that. So those people have to find out about it. So if you are in a group where you guys talk to other iRB people, mention this. What we're going to do too is put it in the back office, this replay or this webinar we're doing right now. I'm going to post this in the back office, so like right when you log in, instead of that welcome video that's there now, it's been there forever, I'm going to put this replay there just to make sure everybody sees it, so everyone gets the option to take one of these programs. If you guys do the math on that, so let's say that you have 5 clients, been with us for a very short period of time, or maybe you just got started, for whatever reason, you've only got 5 people. Well, if you move those people over to the 800 numbers and stayed with Twilio, or let's use it without the 800 numbers. If nothing ever changed and you just kept trucking right along with what you got, you would be spending, that would be $17.50 a month. So that would be your cost for those 5 clients, $17.50 a month with Twilio. Those are if they're active accounts. Or for $14.97, you can get 100 accounts covered. So just kind of do the math there. When they're if you only have 2 accounts, well then right now you are spending $7 a month for your 2 accounts. Spend another $8 a month, you got your first 100 accounts covered. Spend another $3 and you got your first 30 client accounts covered. So hopefully I don't need to convince you guys of the math. I just don't want anyone to be lazy and figure, I'm already there with Twilio and you got my number. Might as well just keep trucking along. Or, yeah, I do have $8 in Twilio, so, I'll wait till that goes down. I wouldn't worry about it. Again, even if you have $20 though, you guys, there's other uses for Twilio. A lot of people don't know that. But you can buy numbers through Twilio. They do automatic recording of the lines and so forth that you can use as a sales line, or you can use for your client. There's a bunch of other reasons. I know that people sell that, Alan. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but I know that people are buying those Twilio lines all the time that record, and they're assigning it to their client for the calls to come in over. I guess to track what? Performance of something that they're offering. Anyway, there's other things Twilio does, so maybe you could use that $20 towards that, but I wouldn't wait till that is spent and then lose your opportunity to save yourself some money. Plus, you want to help out the collective here. All right, guys, that's it. I know what you guys were thinking, by the way, when you got this email. You're like, you try to sell us something else? I'm like, I kind of do hate that there wasn't a sales offer in here. But hopefully, you guys, this is sort of a no-brainer. So, at any rate, I hope you guys understood everything else. So let's see, the 20% will cover 1% of the, yeah. If you still have money in Twilio, again, it's like the amount of support and problems that you're going to have with that, or possibly could have. Again, I don't want to say that you will. I would say that my experience, I can only share my experience and the experience of all the people I talk to. You guys notice I try to not just blanket statement things all the time. I do it, and then I correct myself when I do it. But the Twilio in particular, this is going to be an interesting challenge for them to figure all this out and navigate this. All right, guys, that's it for me. There's no sense in keeping you guys on here forever. I actually kept you way longer than I thought. I thought I was going to get through this in 30 minutes. Can these numbers be used for the UK clients? No. Any kind of UK phone numbers, it's all, the regulations for all those are for that country. It has nothing to do with anything we've talked about. Alan, is that anything we would look at in the future? Does that make sense to us to do that? Or do they even have 800 numbers? Or it's probably a different version of an 800 number, right? I mean, it's just so foreign, by the way, Rob, that yeah, it would be different. But if you're focusing on U.S. countries, U.S. businesses, then yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. So if you're in the UK or you're in Australia or you're in, where was that? In South Africa. I forget people. Where was the other place? There was like a really interesting country that got people, and I forget what that was. But not that the other ones aren't interesting. It was just one I hadn't seen till recently. Anyway, it doesn't. Whatever country you're in, you can use these. That's fine, as long as you're focusing on U.S.-based businesses. If you are calling within your own country, this is not for you. You've got to keep using Twilio until there's an alternative. Although they may not have the same delivery issues. Because like in the UK, for those of you not in the UK, and those of you in the UK, you already know this. Your cost per text is pretty high. But it doesn't seem high to you because you're used to it. That's just what people pay. So now that was a couple of years ago, I guess, last time I addressed that. So maybe it's different now. Maybe you guys have, like we have, the unlimited texting. Texting's not really a thing people even think of anymore, other than this is unlimited. But yeah, in the UK, or at least the way it used to be, it was very, very expensive per text. So it wasn't unusual to expect that, or to kind of monitor your SMS usage. And the reason for that is probably due to regulations. And there's just a lot of cost and tax on those things. Somebody has to regulate those regulations. That's probably what that cost is. Philippines. Yeah, if you're in the Philippines working towards the U.S., you're all good. Yeah. That's it. So for those of you, let me say this one more time, because I know this is one of those times like where even though I say it and you hear it, you might forget. And if you do, just apologize down the road, because I know it's going to happen. But if you've got a client that absolutely positively wants to keep their phone number that they have right now in Twilio, let us know. Okay. By the way, so Alan, on that, like, what if, let's say that one of these guys, they do have a phone number, but they want to switch over to us, but they just have that one phone number. Can't we, this will be an exception to the rule. And more maybe like limited or whatever, but can't we port that number over? Do we even think about that? Like, so for the people that want to use, Yeah, with something we'll address in January. And again, guys, I would really tell you, like, let's not make this more difficult. Let's just keep it simple. As you guys know, if I ever got another tattoo, that's what it would say. Just keep it simple. But whoever you think is using keywords probably is not. Check that first. If they really are, then okay. But let us know. We'll make sure that they can keep that number. And then probably in January, we will have an option for you guys to keep your long code. And maybe even have some kind of other thing. It doesn't really make sense. Like there's no other reason you would want the long code number other than that example. Otherwise, of course, you want the 800 thing. That's sort of the whole thing. Do not release, you guys, your Twilio numbers yet. And if you already did, if you just did it, can you let Alan know? And then Alan, can you go in there and redo that? I would have Gwen help, but Gwen is out today. Gwen's, for those of you who do thoughts and prayer stuff, our own Gwen, her beautiful little daughter, was having surgery yesterday, I think, that did go well. She's only 6 or 7 months old, so I just can't even imagine. But it all worked out okay for her, but she is sort of working sporadically today. So yeah, if somebody did release the number, if you could go in and kind of fix it for them. Okay. See, we have landing post. Please tell everyone. Okay, got that. We have to request Twilio to give them back if they want that same phone number, right? So wait a second. I might be a little confused by what you're saying. So when they release the phone number, are they saying they released the number to give it to us? Or are you saying you released the number because you want to switch over to the 800 numbers? If you were releasing the number so that we could report it to us, port meaning P-O-R-T-A-L. Wait, that's portal. Port, P-O-R-T. So not report, but like port the number over. Like transfer it. Just hold on. Make sure you stay with Twilio. If you still need that phone number, see, that's what I'm saying, Alan. I don't think they have to have that specific phone number. But if I'm wrong, I forgot who that was. Cahill, whoever that was. Oh, was that Ray? Yeah. So as far as everyone else, just don't do anything with your Twilio. Just even if you switch over to our program, just keep everything the same. We're going to switch it all for you. So Ray, submit a support ticket and let Alan know exactly what you need. Like if you released a phone number, but you need that specific phone number, then you need to immediately request to Twilio that you want it back. You released it prematurely. But if you release that phone number and you don't really need that phone number in particular, then not a problem. Let us know. We'll just assign another phone number to that real quick in the meantime until we get you guys switched over here. Now, here another question for you, Alan. And nobody asked this, but it's just for me, from my standpoint. I'm trying to figure out how you guys are gonna. Are you gonna do accounts by like in groups, or are you gonna just kind of? Are you gonna move everything kind of at once, like at night, over the weekend? Probably at night. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you guys, I mean, there could be some people that saw some changes beforehand, but let's go ahead and plan on that for Monday. Yeah, I'm not talking about moving their numbers. I'm talking about replacing their numbers with the spinner. Yeah, this is going to be done with everyone's on Monday. So you guys will all be good to go on Monday. And then everything else, what I want you guys to do with this whole conversation is just remember two things. Number one, you just saved yourself a bunch of money. You made your life easier. If you choose one of these programs, you don't have to deal with Twilio. All that is great. And at the end of the day, just know that we were able to improve our platform overall. But all this technical stuff, please don't let that bleed into your sales pitch. because it's not important to the client. None of this stuff, they don't even know that there is the problem exists. So if you point out that there is a problem, but we have it fixed, it's like, what? Wait, what? So even if you're comparing us to somebody else, that's a good question. So if you're comparing us to somebody else, do you point it out? No, I wouldn't. I would I'd sell it, give them a better rate, and then just sell them on hey, you should do business with me because I'm telling you the truth or whatever. See what the other person did. Maybe the other person came in and did the same thing. So it'll be down to them choosing personality. So, but I don't know if I would point that out. If you get in a pissing contest with the companies, it's hard to do that because the client doesn't know anything yet. They don't have either yet. So either person could say anything they want, right? Just like in politics these days. Doesn't have to be true. You can say anything you want. By the way, whoa, where did that come from? Somebody didn't get enough sleep last night. What is that? All right, guys, that's it. If you guys have any questions for me, shoot me an email. I hope you guys moved over to this. It would be a big help. At least I would know, like, all right, well, I didn't, like, shoot myself in the foot for a month or two, did I? I don't think I did. I don't know why you guys wouldn't take it. There's no, again, the only thing would be if you really have a client doing keywords. But I think you probably think you have a client doing it because you trained them and maybe you even bought business cards. One of my clients did that. Oh, a guy with 70 some odd locations. We've gotten like none. Not none, but it was like less than 3 over a long period of time. So yeah, they'll be bummed. They printed cards and now that phone number's no good. Oh well. If they really care, I'll print them some new cards without the phone number. And it's like you can't make everyone happy on all fronts. The most important thing is that the product is performing the very best it can. Everything else is sort of secondary to that. In this instance, you can make sure it performs the very best it can and save yourself some money. And then get away from the keyword thingy anyway. But, well, Alan, they'll still be able to offer that if they absolutely positively have to, right? You can do that to an 800 number, right? They'd just assign one number to that client. It just wouldn't be the spinner. He's answering, guys. Give me a second. I think the answer to that is yeah. But don't worry about that right now. Let's keep it simple. Can you use a short code with our system? Nope. I don't know why you'd want to. It would cost you a fortune. I mean, that would be crazy expensive. Yeah. But I get your question, John. But yeah, no, you wouldn't really need to. Yeah, we've got one as well, and we just don't use it. I have one small group from years and years and years ago. Although I should probably even check it because I don't even know if they're using it. I mean, people still use shortcodes. Don't get me wrong. It's just it won't work for us. But in loyalty marketing and all that kind of stuff, it's probably the way to go. Especially, texting keywords into shortcodes. If you're sending that message out to 100,000 people and you get 1 or 2%, then it's still a decent number. Page to connect a new number with this. You guys, no matter what you currently have today with Twilio, if you're switching over to this program, don't touch anything. We'll already assume you're moving over because you bought the program. And then if you don't email us and say, hey, I got this client that has to keep this phone number, then we will assume that you don't have any phone numbers that are precious, that need to be kept. In which case, all accounts will be switched over to the new platform. It will just happen automatically. You guys won't really notice unless you go in and test it later on Monday. But everything will look about the same. I wish we could use this opportunity to kind of fancy up the back office like I've been talking about for years. But sorry, guys. Going into 2019, hoping the same thing for 2019. Wanted to do that in 2018, but it's sort of like, it's just that thing becomes lower and lower on the priority list once resellers are using the platform. Again, I'm preaching the choir here, but you guys know once you start using it, you're like, I don't really need all that other stuff. I get it. Can watch one video and understand the whole thing pretty easily. All right, guys, that is it for me. If you guys do have any other questions, if it's a technical question, like John, like that one, Alan, if you could jump on that one, let's make that the last one you answer. But if you have any technical questions, make sure you submit a support ticket to the help desk. If you email me, I just have to email them, and then it's just a lot quicker if we do it the other way. And then again, let me repeat this. Everyone that is moving over, once you purchase this program, will know you're moving over. If you have a client that needs to keep a Twilio number, let us know. And what we'll do is make sure we don't replace that number with the 800 numbers when we move everything over the weekend or before Monday, or could be Monday morning. So if we don't hear from you and you purchase this program, we're going to assume we are moving over all of your clients. Once we move them over, then we'll tell you, and then you need to release those numbers so that you're not paying for them anymore. Twilio. By the way, I bet you guys, I would be very surprised if you all didn't have at least 14 phone numbers. Even if you only had 4 accounts, I bet you have 14, 15 phone numbers. How many numbers did I have whenever that was that we talked? I'm trying to think what day that was, Alan. But we looked in my account, and I had like an extra 600 phone numbers that I wasn't using and I had not released. 400 phone numbers. So I've been spending $400 a month for probably years. Numbers I didn't need. Oops. I'm supposed to be smarter than that. There goes all that. So much for my management consulting abilities. So anyway, guys, so at least we'll have those issues moving forward, and that's another cool thing. I didn't even think of that, by the way, Alan. How many people on this call do you think probably have $5 or $10 in phone numbers they're not using every single month? Jeez, I didn't even think of that. All right, guys, that's it for me. Anything you need technical, ask support. And for everyone else, today's Thursday. We don't have any other webinars this week. There was no Appersnap webinar today because I wanted all eyes focused on this. I'm going to go ahead and render this video. It's going to be put up in the back office right, when you log in, you're going to see it. You will be getting emails from me over the next couple of days. This is very, very important. So even if you purchase the program, I'll try to filter you out as quick as possible so you don't get unneeded emails. But I want everyone to know about it, number one. And, of course, I want everyone to be able to switch over, too. But at least have the opportunity to do it before we end this offer and then, move forward. So it will be available in the back office. You can email me if you have any other questions over the weekend, if it's, sales related, whatever, technical stuff to the support desk. And then on Tuesday night, we'll do on our Tuesday webinar. It will be live this week. By the way, guys, it was live this Tuesday, but I did not change the go-to webinar thing where it said canceled until like 2 hours or 3 hours before the webinar. I keep forgetting to do that. The things that I'm in charge of, those type things tend to get forgotten. So I have a pretty big list I tackle every day, but or at least that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. But I did change it eventually, and then we did have a really good, my point in saying this is that we had a pretty good webinar, I believe, on Tuesday. And I just put that up in the back office. It's under the tab. It's under this tab. Let me see if I can open it up. You guys can see. It is right here. It's right under most recent training. And it is called iRB Tuesday, 6 p.m. training. Mercer gets deep. Talking goals for 2019. I kind of did get deep, but that's what we talked about. We talked about that kind of stuff that I tend to do every once in a while, but I think we got into it a little bit more than we usually do. So for those of you guys that are using this month wisely and planning out your life, you're not just going to stumble your way to success. Because if you do, I want you to call me, because I've never met anyone that did that, stumbled their way to there, unless they accidentally stumbled into a place about a lottery ticket, won the lottery. It's just not how you become successful. You plan it. Set some goals. Lay down some things you're going to do. Anyway, those of you who are using this month and you're doing that right now, I would say make sure that you go watch that Tuesday training webinar. Next Tuesday, we're going to be talking all about this phone number stuff and about the move over and answering any other kind of questions. So then that Tuesday training will also be rendered as quick as possible and will be available right here in the same place as this one is next Wednesday morning. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday and then a wonderful weekend. I think we're going to be snowed in here in Oklahoma, so I'm excited about it, at least in the part that I'm in. So I have to run out to the grocery store before there's everything taken. By the way, why does everyone get drinking water all the time? Are you going to be snowed in for 3 or 4 days? It doesn't mean you don't have water. Or toilet paper. That's the other thing. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Anyway, that is a weird thing that happens with these like hurricanes, storms, snowstorms. All right, guys, back to celebrating Christmas. Have any questions, email me, and I'll talk to you guys on next Tuesday.